I think I'll stop that. Philip's got a question or statement?
Yeah, two related questions. One, Tech is one of the most portable software packages around. Maybe Zip or something like that is equally portable, but Tech runs on about every operating system. What about Git? Is it really tied to Linux? I mean, offhand, I don't know if there's a Git client for VMS or not. My guess is that there's not. But if you have some sort of close relationship between the two, then you have to ask the question, well, am I restricting the platforms Tech can run on or be used on in a modern sense because I'm relying on some software which is, more or less for the Linux world or something like that? And sort of related to that is Nelson's remark about the Python incompatibility. Even if I have a fork for some specialized operating system so that I could use it, there might not be development on it. It might not be, the changes might not be fed back and so on. And then maybe the world has moved on and I'm stuck with an old version, which is incompatible. And one often sees that, of course, with SSH and so on. They say, well, your cipher's too old. I'm not going to talk to you. So, there's a danger if they're too closely related, that you have a long dependency. And I put an old Dilbert cartoon in the chat, which addresses this. Do you really want to have to rely on, some code which is running primarily on another operating system, maintained by people, most of whom don't use Tech, and with no guarantee about things like the Python incompatibility? It seems like that in itself is a risk.
At least it runs on Android as well. And I think that the Git people somehow strive for the same longevity as the Tech guys do, because when they develop some tool for storing and for maintaining revisions, they really want to have these revisions back in many years from now, even if it looks like they are just designing current software. But I guess this is one major goal of Git as well. Actually, the Git format is so well defined that you can, I guess, hack it from scratch if you like, and it's standard C. It would be not a problem. I mean, not on an 8-bit system anymore, but else I do not see any stumble block there.
I think Armand has really said something really important, which is that Tech and Git have closely aligned values in this respect, and both have this value of longevity.
We had seen, I don't know how many people nowadays are using Mercurial, this HG stuff, and there was a third one I forgot, but a few years ago there was really, I think, at least 3 competitors, and somehow Git won. At least it looks like, for me as a user of Git, that the other ones are not so much in use anymore.
Yeah, besides Mercurial, there was Subversion, there was CVS, which has largely disappeared, and there was the GNU Bazaar system. And since I install software on about more than 500 different systems in my test lab, I've come to find that things like CVS and Bazaar and Mercurial and even RCS, sadly, are disappearing from some of the distributions. RCS was sort of one of the earlier ones that had the advantage that it was relatively easy to learn. There are about 3 commands you need to know, and that's it. But it's not geared towards supporting a big software archive spread across the internet. But it works just fine for a single user, and so I've been a user of it for more than 40 years. But that certainly is an issue, that had we adopted, say, Mercurial or Subversion, as they disappeared, we would be out of luck or would have to find some transition. Historically, the TeX sources in the 90s were stored in a commercial revision system whose name I'm not sure of, so I won't put any guesses out here, but we reached a point where it wasn't available, wasn't being updated, and we had to leave it behind. And unfortunately, leaving behind meant we lost the entire revision history because there was no way to transfer that history. And from email I've seen on various mailing lists, people who tried to move from other systems to different revision control system often find that history is difficult to keep accurate.
The PDF tech was in Perforce, or P4 was the system, and when it was moved to SVN, just for simplicity, all the history was dropped. Yep.
I should say here that my suggestions are conservative in that we don't use the Git version control aspects except when strictly necessary to achieve some purpose. So history is something else. History is, if you like, metadata about the files. You've got the file. Well, you've got the leaves. You've got the data, the objects that at the end of the tree, and then you've got the tree, and then you've got the metadata that gives you the history of the tree, who committed it, when, what's its parents, that sort of stuff. And that metadata doesn't exist to any significant degree in TeX Live, nor does it need to.